Hey everyone, welcome back to Dark Souls 3. My name is Joy on Game Center Crown, and we gon' fuck with some dragons today. We are wearing a Dragon Slayer armor. Actually, that reminds me, we haven't fucking beaten Dragon Slayer armor yet. Okay, let's go do that, and then we'll fuck with dragons. Oh god, get away from me. But we can come out again into the swamp. And I'm trying to make a wide berth so I don't run into the Judicator and stir his ire. We'll see if it works. But, yeah, so I'm gonna take on Dragon Slayer armor, and then we're gonna actually deal with a dragon and be a Dragon Slayer. So, that should be fun. But, let's do this shit. Yep, if we get out over here, I think we're out of the Judicator's range of aggro, so... Yay! We just have to run up to a big nasty motherfucker who wants to kill us. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun, y'all? Isn't that fun? Yeah. Dragon Slayer buddy over here. We're wearing the OG Dragon Slayer armor. Fuck boy, I actually want to see if there's a better ring I can be wearing against this guy. I don't think there is, actually. Shit. Hold on. We got the Wolf Ring +3. It increases poise. That actually will help us from getting staggered. Ugh. Hi. Ooh, that shield bash. I forgot all about that. I remember that from the fight, though. Okay. I hate this motherfucker. With your crazy-ass long weapon and shit. I'm trying to be really careful about it. That's why, one, I'm not talking a lot, and two, I'm dancing around him a lot. Okay, got it. No, no. Okay. Okay. Ooh, we poised through that a little bit. Just a bit. Not a lot. Just a bit. Just a smidgen. Why don't you fuck off, dude? Or I can fuck off, whatever. I think we got him this time. Though, not to jinx us like I did last time, but I'd like to... fucking shield's in the way. Okay. Put your shield down, you asshole. Or put it in my face, whatever you want, dude. It's your edge of the swamp, I guess. Oh, wow. Bye. It's been real, dude. And then the audio for this episode died. So what you're hearing right now is post-commentary. Isn't that fun? Anyway, we get Iron Dragon Slayer, the set. And we also get a Titanite scale for our trouble. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, guys. But, chug some Sunny D. Yeah, let's learn about this Iron Dragon Slayer armor because it's pretty awesome. Also gives us a bit of lore about who we just fought. Stark melted iron helm of the ancient Dragon Slayer armor. The armor, defeated by the champion of Ash and Lothric, hey, that's us, was left ages to rest until it slipped into an abyssal swamp where it was possessed once again by the memory of the hunt. What this means is that we very much fought just straight up Dragon Slayer armor that we once fought in Lothric. that he has slipped to the ends of the earth along with everything else. He is not a reincarnation. This is just him being taken. Well, I suppose a reincarnation, because, you know, his spirit was once again possessed by the memory of the hunt, and also we defeated him. But anyway, it really says a lot about the nature, again, of Dark Souls and how time is not linear here. At best, it is vaguely linear, and here I'm switching up our Dragon Slayer armor for the Iron Dragon Slayer armor because it does have higher physical defense as well as some elemental defenses. Pretty cool. This is also a set, along with the one that we were wearing, that is a callback to Ornstein, who is the original Dragon Slayer armor, for which the regular Dragon Slayer armor is named. So I'm wondering if maybe Dragon Slayer armor, the one that we just fought, is sort of a reincarnation of Ornstein from Dark Souls 1, which is entirely possible, given that their sets are extremely similar. Gonna make a leap back to the bonfire here. And God, so many technical difficulties with this playthrough. Sorry that this is not live, you know, audio, but did my best here to try and fill in the gaps. Spoiler alert, the same thing happens with the next episode. There's a few minutes of audio, and then I'm gonna have to take it over with post audio. Anyway, we are going to take on dragons as promised in the beginning of the episode. Take a jump down here. Wearing our new Iron Dragon Slayer armor. Oh, what is that? That looks like a dragon. That is actually Midir. You can get a closer look at him here in a second. That is Midir, the dragon that Shira has asked us to take care of because he's been tainted by the dark. Having trouble with the touchpad. Come on, Joy. Pull through. There you go. Lean in, sister. So, we're going to take care of him here. Sick, nasty flame, and over half our health gone in one sweep. That's okay. Chug some Estus and run. Get on in there, kiddo. And, yep, there's a safe spot right there, but it has a hollow in it, and we almost die right here. We get a Soul of a Weary Warrior. Not worth it, really, but back here is a treasure that is significantly more worth it. We get another Titanite Scale. Titanite Scales are a special sort of upgrade item for special types of weapons that only go to +5 when they max out. For example, our Black Knight sword that we're using would be an example of something that you need a Titanite Scale to get all the way upgraded to +5. There are sort of, quote, normal type weapons where you can get to +10 and you need a Titanite slab to do that. So just different upgrade materials. And of course they give us rubbish because Dark Souls, the ultimate troll. We get another Titanite Scale. We actually got 2 there. Something interesting about Midir's breath here. You can see right there, there's in the top left, there were some purple sparkles, indicative of the dark for sure, being tainted by the dark. So, and we'll get a closer look at him later. Again, hollows with lightning spears, which is very unusual. Lightning spears are very much a sacred sort of miracle weapon that was used by Lord Gwyn and the royal family, but specifically a hallmark of Lord Gwyn. Roll, bitch! Oh, too slow. Got barbecued. Up there we can see a crystal lizard that we're not going to pursue yet. And right here in the... I just want you to notice this little edge right here after I turn around. It's something that I didn't really discuss. I noticed in the audio. That little purple scrap of cloth. Slave Knight Gale has actually been leaving pieces of his cloak behind to guide us. And everywhere that he has a, you know, take the plunge note, there's also a scrap of fabric, if you go back and look, to accompany that note. Pretty cool, honestly. A very nice little detail. And leaving bits of his cloak behind as a sort of waypoint markers. But that is the way to progress forward. If we were to just go the way and pursue the crystal lizard, we would have dropped down through the floor. And we'll actually see that when I take a false step here. I actually get a little bit lost in this area. And that is a mimic. And I know it's a mimic, so I'm looking for an Undead Hunter's dual charm, I believe is what I'm looking for. But I only have a dual charm, I guess an Undead Hunter's charm. In Dark Souls 1, they were known as Lloyd Talismans, and they would put these bad boys to sleep. But I do not have any, so like an idiot, I am going to put a dual charm on and hope that it works. But spoiler alert, it doesn't. So I'm going to have to kill this mimic the old-fashioned way. Yep, doesn't work. You're gonna have to hit it, Joy. Being disappointed, looking for the dual charm once again. Sorry also for kind of the reverb and the audio for Ashes of Ariandel in the first few episodes of the Ring City. I'm in a new apartment than I was when I was recording the first kind of base game of Dark Souls 3. For those of you that don't know, in January of 2017, my apartment building had a fire and I was displaced. Now in a new apartment. But that is neither here nor there. Just hoping that you appreciate the hopefully obvious jump in audio quality. We picked up the Ring of the Evil Eye +3, which will give you HP from fallen foes. And it is +3, which means it is 3 times as potent as the original. And I look at that right here. Absorb HP from each defeated foe. Very good ring. Mimics tend to have good shit in them. Like, they're worth the effort of either putting to sleep with a charm or beating the shit out of with your weapon, even though they are quite treacherous, as we noticed in our first mimic in Dark Souls 3. Way back when, nearly a year ago today, actually, especially at the time that this video is going to be going up in May, late May. Oh, and spin to win, and that Beyblade did not hit. Sorry, buddy. Come up here. But this is the correct way to handle these stairs. I think I eat shit here going after this. And, yep. So that's what normally happens when you come in here, is you fall through the floor. And then I end up getting lost here for a little bit, but that's okay, because we can get some goodies. We are also invaded by Dark Spirit Moaning Knight. Who could this be? We've seen a lot of old friends in this section of the Ring City. Get a lightning gem. Indicative again of Lord Gwyn and the royal family. Oh, there's that Moaning Knight. This is an NPC. I don't know why I was so convinced that non-NPC, like other player invaders were NPCs. They just had very clever player names. I have it so to retain player anonymity, I have display the character name instead of so what people name their character instead of their like PSN screen name. But anyway, this is the Moaning Knight, and you'll notice it looks exactly like Morn, who we know from the base game, and that is indicative of who that's supposed to be. If you'll remember, he was guarding the blind wannabe firekeeper from Kareem. And he is beating the shit out of us, and we only have 2 Estus left. Concern. Doing me a right concern, friend. But he's almost dead, so yeah, we go right here. And we get a blindfold mask, and we also pick up a simple gem. But Morn himself, the Moaning Knight, rather. His set, the shield is called the Moaning Shield, and he's wearing Morn's set. That's how we know it's him. And what are you doing at the ends of the earth, buddy? We just don't know. And I'm gonna walk away from that nasty, nasty skeledude. But we pick up a blindfold mask, and that's actually pretty, it's interesting. We get an interesting bit of lore on it, and don't worry, once I hit a bonfire here, I stop and read it. But first, I'm just like, oh, I just want to get out of here. This is where I get a little bit lost. But yeah, as far as while I, talk through getting lost here, Dark Souls 3, the DLCs, Ashes of Ariandel, I personally found to be a little bit disappointing. I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood for it or what, but I feel like the Ring City is a little bit more of what I expected of a DLC from Dark Souls 3. But then again, I am spoiled because the Bloodborne DLC, the Old Hunters DLC, was fucking incredible. It was actually technically 2 DLC pressed together, if I remember correctly. They decided to release it all as one, and I'm glad they did because it was huge. Sorry, hiccup there. But, yeah, I mean, the Ring City was what I was really just sorry, still kind of choking on whatever crumb got into my throat. But yeah, the Ring City is really what I was expecting from Dark Souls 3 as far as the DLC was concerned. We get some interesting lore. It's brutally difficult. all the things that I look for in a Dark Souls, sort of, or really what I would think of would be in a Dark Souls DS3, DLC rather. Huh, got a very nasty crumb in my throat there. Sorry for the weird throat catches. But here we are, we've made it out. Actually, no, scratch that, that's where we came in. Yep, that's right. And I keep turning around there because we're supposed to see Amnesiac Lap. And just spoiler alert, I mentioned it, I put it in writing in an earlier video, but Amnesiac Lap is actually Patches, and what happens is, I'm not sure how we goofed up the storyline with him. Again, this is only my second playthrough of the Ring City, but what happens is you'll catch him in chairs in various parts of the Ring City, and he'll just be like, oh, if I could only find the Purging Monument, I could, you know, I could go and absolve myself and remember who I am. And when you find the Purging Monument, you can come here to this area and actually tell him about the Purging Monument. You can go, and he'll go to it and remember that he's Patches, and it'll actually shove you down onto that ledge where you're supposed to go, which is pretty funny to me. But anyway, which is very reminiscent of Dark Souls 1 and just his character, so everything comes full circle. But more importantly, we picked up a blindfold mask, which I am looking for now. There it is. Nope, you missed it. There you go. An eye-occluding mask of unknown origin. Small cracks allow the wearer to see. Strengthens dark attacks, but also greatly increases damage sustained from dark. This purple steel creation has a certain resemblance to the Firekeeper's crown, but the similarity is purely cosmetic. I kind of wonder if this is a what came first, chicken or the egg sort of thing. But seeing as it bears a resemblance to the Firekeeper's crown, it seems that the Firekeeper's crown came first. It would also make sense. Firekeepers would probably need to be around since the dawn of the fire to tend to it. A little bit strange that our homeboy... Oh, there's Darkeater Midir again with those razzle-dazzle purple sparkles, but be wary of Destroy. This is a safe spot. But a little bit interesting that Morn had that eyeless crown, especially because he was leading a wannabe Firekeeper who was blind to become a Firekeeper potentially, or rather we rescued her to become one. You'll also notice here that he has some purple crystals growing out of him, and you'll notice I'm staying pretty close to this area. There is a safe spot over here. Really just this portion, you're hacking away at his feet. Gotta get them dragon feets, and yeah, I'm not in the safe spot. Right there. Ooh, nasty laser beam. Some dark magics. Right where that blood spot is actually the safe spot. Nothing will get you there. Well, almost nothing. It's about 99% safe. So you'll see me hovering around that area here and just hitting his feet. Doing another sweep. Again, staying near that safe spot. But yeah, we're just in it to smack those feet. You don't want to try anything more difficult. But yeah, you'll notice that he has these dark crystals growing out of him, very reminiscent of what we were seeing in the Abyssal Swamp. Also reminiscent of the Curse crystals, though not quite the same, obviously, as what was growing out of the Cursed Hollows. Getting a little erratic here as we get him down to low health. And again, 99% safe. You'll see he did an erratic sweep there and it caught us. He's getting a little sleepy because we're beating the shit out of him, slashing his legs. He should collapse here in a second from exhaustion. There he goes. But you'll notice he has a little bit of health. Sparkle, sparkle wings with some obvious dark infection. You'll also notice he's eyeless, indicative of the everlasting Archdragons. And we knock him back into a chasm. However, in the bottom right, you will notice that we do not get any souls for our endeavor. Important to note, he's just down in that chasm. Rest in pieces. Or not, actually. Because we didn't get any souls, that's the game's hint to you that, hey, you didn't actually defeat that dragon. Sorry. I think I'm running around here a little bit because I think I forgot something. Or I was going to go one way and then was like, don't need to go back. I think we actually get another Titanite scale here. Yep. And keep going along the critical path. We will catch up with Shira later and be like, hey, we defeated the dragon. And she'll be like, bitch, you thought. So And she'll actually give us a hint on how to get closer. But here is some sneaky, sneaky goodness. Here in this hall, we get an illusory wall with a friend inside. A very nasty friend who Beyblades on out. Not particularly well. Again, with the white corona miracle around him. Way of white corona. Which is an ye old-timey medicine from way back when. Or medicine, miracle, rather. It's of the royal family of the old gods. Lap, I think, is supposed to appear in one of these chairs. I think it's maybe he appears here and you tell him about the purging monument and then he'll go and do it. I forget. But he is Patches and he regains his mysterious nature and he takes off his helmet to reveal that he's Patches. So, but anyway, we pick up the lightning arrows after a series of tricky, illusory walls. Very sneaky Dark Souls. But here we can take a look at this lightning arrow miracle that we got here. There it is. Lightning arrow. The few female knights who served in the Age of the Gods use this miracle for dragon slaying. Draw a lightning bow to fire a lightning arrow. The lightning arrows offer a great improvement to the range of spears and were said to have been used to pierce the eyes of dragons from afar. But remember, beautiful stories are always marked by embellishment. So, take it with a grain of salt. However, I think that's a really interesting note, that there were female knights that served within the ranks. Whether, you know, that makes me think that maybe some of the Silver Knights that we've seen, some of them were female. We also know that there is the Dark Moon Knightess in Dark Souls 1 who watched over Gwendolyn. And, that fucking crystal lizard yeeted away before we could get there. This bitch empty. But here, more interestingly, we have a statue of Lord Gwyn bestowing what appears to be a crown upon the furtive pygmy. The pygmy, you'll remember, discovered the Dark Soul of Man. He's also holding a shiny in his hand, which we're gonna go get. And there's also an elevator. Oh my god. But, very interesting that Gwyn gifted a crown and a city to the Dark Pygmy and its descendants. The Dark Pygmy is sort of the progenitor of man. If we come up here, we get that gate, and it spits us out right next to a bonfire. The first bonfire after the bridge with the Judicator and the Phantoms, in fact. So just letting you know kind of like where we are location-wise. And I think I actually show it right here, just to show location. I might actually also warp in a second. Yeah, so we're at the Ring City Inner Wall. Ring City Streets is deeper in near the Abyssal Swamp, and then the Shared Grave is right before where I got lost, and right before we went to get Midir. Alright, what have I done here? Oh, I've warped to go see Shira. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. Maybe I have. Let's see. Let's learn together what I just did. Oh, I'm going back to get loot from the bridge for Midir. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Fun fact, I actually recorded it, you know, because this episode is almost an hour, so I actually spoke for an hour a few days ago. And that audio got eaten too. So, yeah. My computer just hates me, I guess, or my recording software does. So I'm re-recording this audio, so I've had time to sort of edit the transitions with the video, and now I'm just talking to it as I watch it. Just for transparency purposes. And I think I actually warped back in a second here because I'm just like, I'm not going to go for that fucking crystal lizard. Or I think I make an attempt and then decide, maybe not. What do I do? What do I do? Yeah, I think I make an attempt at the crystal lizard. Nope, I don't. I get bored. Yeah, I remember now. Go back to the bonfire. Last rest of that with you. I also cut out the double warp back to this area where we open up the gate. So it wasn't the bonfire last rested at. I actually went back to that one and then warped to this one. And you'll notice all these glowing summon signs. But more importantly... I forget which way I'm going here. Yeah, that's right. I remember getting confused. Yeah, you go... No, you go... Yes, you go that way. There you go. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get back to Shira and tell her about Midir. That we've defeated him, or so we think. So our chosen undead likely thinks. We're gonna run on back. Those ring knights are such a cool design. And also just a very interesting lore point that the gods were so afraid that they, you know, stamped their armor with that sign to sort of, you know, kind of draw a salt circle around them, if you will, for a more sort of modern reference. But it also makes sense that Gwyn would maybe be like, oh yeah, I'm giving you a crown and a kingdom, when really he was locking them away at the end of the world because he was so scared of what man might become. But let's listen to Shira.
So, Midir hath into the chasm fallen, still his voice I hear. The dark grieveth him yet. I prithee, put him to rest, before the dark consumeth him, and his vows are forgot. Just afore the church of the princess standeth a tower, honouring ancient knights.
We're about to get interrupted.
There lieth the small shrine.
Yep. Herald Knight here to bust up the party. Yeah, hold on. I have to lose this guy here for a second. But the dark grieveth Midir yet. He is not dead yet. The dark does not grieve him yet, y'all. But I think I'm safe from him in here, and then I'm like, oh, surprise. No, I'm not. Definitely almost die here. But he is thin enough to get into that area, but too fat to get out, is what we learn. The hollow ruining our life. But let's hear what Shira has to say about how to access Midir.
Just afore the church of the princess standeth a tower, honouring ancient knights. There lieth the small shrine, behind the sculpted knight, which beareth no arms. 'Tis from there one may descend the chasm of darkness. I prithee, put the great dragon to rest. I know, I have asked of thee a thing most terrible. Forgive me. Thou wert but mine only hope. Just afore the church of the princess standeth a tower. Is a small. I prithee before the.
Sorry again for the close-up. I was making sure another Herald Knight didn't get to us. But she basically just told us how to access that chasm that Midir has fallen into. And it's also told us that, hey, homeboy ain't dead yet. And I forgot that Ring Knight was here. So you see a panic turnaround. Oh, boy. Oh, joy. Oh, joy. Spin to win, y'all. Just keep rolling. But a knight who beareth no arms. There is a shrine dedicated to soldiers of yore, knights of yore. But anyway, here we are, back at that sort of elevator. I believe I just, yes I did, I went and reallocated my character in this cut. So how that happens is you go to Rosaria in the Deacons of the Deep, Church of the Deep, Cathedral of the Deep rather, and we didn't talk to her because we didn't want to upset the Sunless Moon. But Sacred Seal of Archdeacon Klimt, who served Rosaria, Mother of Rebirth, equipped to pledge oneself to Rosaria's Finger Covenant. Rosaria's fingers collect tongues in her name. Some do it to be reborn, others to help comfort their voiceless goddess. So her covenant item is a pale tongue. Right there. Proof of a Red Orb invader's victory over a host of embers claiming tongues as trophy was originally the practice of an infamous troop of invaders who offered them to their speechless goddess. That is Rosaria. We would have gotten that covenant item in the base game had we spoken to Rosaria way back when in the base game, but we didn't because we didn't want to upset the Sunless Moon and Darkblade covenant. So that's why that didn't happen for our purposes. We needed it to get that special ending and also some other side quests, but we have it now. The reason why that's important, you can see here I've reallocated my intelligence to 30. That's why it's important. We went to Rosaria to reallocate. We offered 1 pale tongue and offered to reallocate our attributes. So I put 30 into intelligence. The reason being that, nope, it's on the other side, Joy. The reason being is that you need at least 30 intelligence to be able to cast Pestilent Mercury, which you'll see in the bottom left, is a spell slot, which I didn't use in our playthrough, but you'll see why I use it in a second here. But we come down here and we can actually drop down on top of that statue of Lord Gwyn and get Chloranthy Ring +3. This will be 3 times more effective in upping our stamina, and I slip it on here. But yeah, I did a major cut here where I reallocated my attributes, and you can be reborn, quote, 5 times. You can reallocate your attributes 5 times in a single playthrough. If you want to go more than that, you're going to have to go New Game Plus. Each time you need to offer a Pale Tongue. Here I just switched my shield to a Sorcerer's Staff, and then back to the shield. So we're heading into the Midir fight right now. And that's why I'm doing all of this, because Midir has an exceptionally large health pool. We get an ember, very nice. And now we need to look for the knight. This is the shrine dedicated to knight. We need to find a knight who beareth no arms. This guy does not have a sword. He beareth no arms. We hit it, and it reveals the secret entrance. And all those bloodstains are because people ran and didn't realize there was a hole there, but you can walk around it. But yeah, the Midir fight. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the video and also explain. But we got Filianor's Spear Ornament, another stop. Filianor's Spear Ornament. The spears of the church watch over the princess's slumber, and this serves as proof of their fulfillment of their duty. The embellished gold cloth is woven with a crest of young grass. The princess's knights proudly displayed these precious favors, which were most often swaying from their identical ceremonial spears. Seen swaying from their identical ceremonial spears. So that's your covenant loyalty item for the Spears of Filianor, which we will get after defeating Darkeater Midir. But yes, the Darkeater Midir fight is exceptionally difficult. A lot of people were like, is this an endurance-based fight? Because it's taking forever, and it's true. The first time I went in, we actually get antiquated plain garb and violet wrappings. Get a little bit of a hint here. Well, sort of a hint. We just get some more cool lore points of the life and times of Dark Souls. Antiquated plain garb, ordinary garb from an ancient land of sorcery. The gold embellishments betray a faint residue of magic, but this clothing was never intended for battle. When a mission visited the Ring City long ago, one of its younger missionaries elected to stay behind. It was he who became the last recorded Spear of the Church. So the ancient land of sorcery is 100% Ulasil from Dark Souls 1. Also ties to Artorias the Abyss Walker and Princess Dusk, who was the princess of Ulasil. These arm wrappings, sewn with violet cloth and embroidered with gold thread, were intended for everyday use, yet they served well enough in many a battle, enwreathing the arms of one who would go on to embrace the sword. So one of the spears of the church came from Ulasil from way the fuck back when. Here we can summon Shira, Knight of Filianor, as an NPC helper. But yeah, right here, pro strats for Midir. You having trouble with Midir, pay the fuck attention. You get the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring. You slip that shit on. It's going to greatly boost your sorceries, of which Pestilent Mercury is. It is a sorcery. And we're going to get another helper. I believe we summon Cheese. But I don't think we actually get Cheese. Spoiler alert. But, so yeah, pro strats for Midir. Bellowing Dragon Crest ring to boost your sorceries, at least 30 intelligence so that you can equip and use Pestilent Mercury, and a catalyst of your choice, maximum, just maxed out in terms of upgrade materials. So I'm using a Sorcerer's Staff plus 10. For the record, this takes 3 tries if you want to skip ahead, but you'll get more of a sense of what the fight is like in this first sort of battle here. Later, I upgrade a different weapon, and I'll show you what that looks like later. A different catalyst that actually requires a plus 5. So again, that difference between Titanite Slab and Titanite Scales in terms of upgrade materials. Titanite Scales and Twinkling Titanite tend to be sort of associated with special weapons, Black Knights, Silver Knights, weapons of the gods, that sort of thing. So, you know, quote, special weapons, where slabs and chunks and things like that tend to be more normal or human-based weapons. So sort of a way to think about that from a lore standpoint. But here we have, you know, this altar that Shira was telling us about, this sort of chapel devoted to knights. That guy just crushed either an ember or souls. I'm thinking it was an ember. That phantom, I mean, running around. Hello to Omega Henry, who unfortunately will die, spoiler alert, but we also have these primordial serpents down here in this chapel. We take a plunge down, 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 down to the chasm where Darkeater Midir is. We can see, lizard friend, trapped down here. Not sure how you got down here with the ceiling, but you can see all these bodies and limbs sticking up. Countless people have met their deaths down here. But we stir the ire of Darkeater Midir, whose wings have been rotted away by dark, and who is a nasty, nasty fight. Again, as I was saying earlier, a lot of people thought this was an endurance fight, and you know what? It just might be. He always starts the fight with that moveset that you saw there, complete with tail swipe. So we cast Pestilent Mercury and we get the fuck away, because Pestilent Mercury will eat your health away as well. But if you'll notice, his health is going down. because he's in our cloud. The cloud needs to be near him and touching him. You'll also notice his fire breath seems to be tinted with a tinge of dark, or blackness, so indicative of the dark infection as well. And just avoiding it. It's really helpful to have Shira or someone else with you just to be distracting his front, so that you can just be, you know, back here inconspicuously casting Pestilent Mercury the entire time. Again, you can see those purple crystals indicative of a dark infection growing throughout his body. Lunges forward and out of our Pestilent Mercury thing, but you can see it did 1,000 damage. When I first was fighting Midir, I didn't know about this Pestilent Mercury trick, and I was going at him with a weapon that did about 800 damage per hit, and I was barely putting a dent in this guy, so more evidence about people thinking this was an endurance fight. But if there's and also the fact that he's an everlasting dragon means that his defenses of other things, you can see he's not touching my Pestilent Mercury cloud there, so he's not taking any damage except for what Omega Henry is putting onto him. But yeah, people thought this, if you think it's an endurance fight in Dark Souls, there's probably a trick to it. And the trick to this one is Pestilent Mercury, because dragons are notorious to have very robust defense systems. That fire spread will go back, so you need to be pretty far back if you're near him. You'll notice me trying to run away from him. And I think Omega Henry just died with that tail swipe, which is nasty. It can one-shot you if you're not careful. Get hit with the fire. Yeah, Omega Henry has died. But, yeah, it's never just an endurance fight in Dark Souls. There's usually a trick. And sorry, I keep getting sidetracked, but what I'm trying to say is that dragons have an unusually high defense to elemental attacks, except for lightning. Traditionally, dragons are susceptible to lightning, but even Midir has an unusually high lightning defense. It's still his weak point. It's still considered a weak point for him if you were to use a lightning spell on it, which is why you see Shira using the lightning arrows. But they, unusually in this fight, you see me putting Hidden Blessing on because it will restore my FP meter so I can keep casting Pestilent Mercury. I forgot to a lot. Ashen Estus when I did all my upgrades, but yeah, you see her using the lightning arrows, but she's not doing a ton of damage to him. And that, I think, it really confused a lot of people, myself included, as to why lightning was not affecting Midir to the rate that it should have been when we were fighting him, and that's why a lot of people got really confused by this fight in the beginning. And I think some people are probably still confused and managed to somehow outlive the marathon endurance aspect. Yeah, I'm gonna get hit by the fire. That's a nasty, that straight down geyser that he does is really hard to escape because it just does have such a wide area of effect and it goes behind him. But you can see the damage that we're doing with Pestilent Mercury. 2,000 damage and counting. I think at one point we end up casting like 7,000. Okay, phase 2 is this massive blast of dark sort of AoE. Shira, Knight of Filianor, has died. I chugged some Hidden Blessing to get my FP back. And now we're going to try and take on this guy one-on-one. It's not going to go well. We get close, but we don't win in this round, if you're wondering. Spoiler alert. But yeah, you can see that nasty beam attack almost drained us entirely of our health. Again there. And he will wear himself out a little bit, you can see. And here he is with his opening move, stomp, stomp, blowing fire, and then a tail swipe should be coming. There it is. And even though I tried to roll, I still got hit with it. Trying to look for my opening to cast Pestilent Mercury, casting it even though he wandered away from me. That's the one thing, is that you have to have the cloud touching him. And I'm trying to lure him back into it over here, trying to get him to charge through the cloud because it does hang around for a while. There he goes. Charge. But I think it dissipates before it really does any damage. Get some more Pestilent Mercury back in there. You can see me rolling through the Mercury, losing health as I do it, so that's why I want to be away from it. Something interesting about Dark Souls 3 that it happened in Dark Souls 1, but it wasn't continued in Dark Souls 3, is that when you win against dragon-type enemies, you could specifically hack at their tail to try and cut off the tail, and it would grant you with a special weapon. I believe that's how you get the Moonlight Greatsword in Dark Souls 1, is you cut off Seath the Scaleless's tail. Here we go with this nasty dark AoE attack. If you're rolling during that attack, it seems that you can just make it out fine. But oh, and here we have soul dregs shaped like humanity. Very just cinematically and beautiful fight. But yeah, that's not something that carried over to Dark Souls 3, is cutting off a dragon's tail to get a special weapon. And I wonder why they did away with it, but at the same time I'm kind of glad they did, because as you can see, it would be a pain to try and cut off Midir's tail here. It's just swiping every which way, and he's very erratic. I'm completely out of Estus, and I think I die here. Yeah, he does a swipe, and I'm lights out, I think. Yep, there I go. You died. But, that's pretty indicative of how the fight goes. And you can see that we did a lot of damage with, taking away what I don't need here. Accidentally getting rid of that. But, you can see the damage that Pestilent Mercury does, and with very little effort. Here I'm putting my Ashen Estus flask on. I think I allotted 3 to it, if I saw that correctly. So what Ashen Estus is, that allows you to fill your FP meter, that blue meter under your health, which will allow you to cast magic and also do weapon arts, which I didn't really show off, and I still don't. Yeah, Cinder Soul. We ended up getting Cinder Soul. And we get our homegirl, Shira, once again. But, yeah, just showing you guys the Ashen Estus flask. And I also upgraded different catalyst. This is called the Preacher's Right Arm. We got this in the Abyssal Swamp in the lost footage. I can't remember if I showed this guy to you guys or not, and I don't think I did, which is why I pull it open here. But this is the Preacher's Right Arm +5, fully maxed. The desiccated right hand of a white-faced locust that rose from an abyssal swamp that happens to perform as a catalyst or sorcery. The white-faced locusts are meant to beckon men to the dark with sermons, but most of them are unable to think past their own stomach, the unruly mob. So those guys that are like, "Fear not the dark, my friend, and let the feast begin," those are the locusts, and specifically their preachers. So that's pretty interesting. And their right hand, or their right arm apparently, can be a catalyst or sorcery. The reason why I upgraded that fully is because it actually scales and does more damage. So our Pestilent Mercury will be doing more damage per casting, which is why I went that way. And also, it's just cool, and we picked it up in this DLC, so I wanted to show it to you guys. And back at it again in the Dark Chasm. Yes, Midir. But, pretty interesting. Just that fucking arm, I can't deal. This fight is pretty quick. I think I accidentally get caught up in some tail swipes here, and it goes down pretty quick. But I would highly recommend, again, that fucking tail swipe. I would say about 90% of the time, if you're rolling when that tail swipe comes through, you're gonna be fine. But obviously, exceptions to the rule, and there I managed to escape that geyser. Motherfucker does still fly, though, as you can see, and he will rain some fire down here. Oh, not this time, but he will breathe fire down sometimes. And I think he's about to lunge forward. Yeah, not a full pounce forward, but he's definitely shimmying. The fact that his tail is still in the mist is doing damage. Yeah, some of this nasty goodness. Got hit with the fire there, but that's alright. That's okay. You're going to choke on our cloud of Pestilent Mercury. There you see. Oh, Shira Knight of Philionoris died. And we do almost 1,000 in one single casting of Pestilent Mercury. Also, I mentioned earlier that, yeah, I think I beat it here. Yeah, this fight is quick. I know that. Yep, there I go. Rip in pieces. Piece of shit. Yep, I'm sorry, Cooperator. But, as I was saying with the, whole... Guns N' Roses is our Cooperator this time. Welcome to the Jungle Gang. And he's wearing the Dragon Slayer set, and he's also using an enormous fucking weapon that the Fume Knight would use, so... this is the winning round here. If you were waiting for the winning fight, this is it. As I was saying earlier, it's very interesting to me that they didn't incorporate the tail slashing to get special weapon from dragons aspect from Dark Souls 3. However, as I'm thinking of it, mentioning Seath the Scaleless and how you would cut off his tail to get the Moonlight Greatsword, which has been in every Souls game from the beginning of time, even Demon Souls, and even Bloodborne, like seriously every Soulsborne game. Yep, there he goes, that flying fire attack. And he flew away from my cloud, you piece of shit. But you can see how much damage Guns N' Roses does right here. Also, the fact that he's able to escape both of these nasty attacks. Look at him go, what a champ. So cool, but he hits him and does like 500, 1,000. Yeah, he's doing 500 about with each hit, which, whoo doggy, that's what I was doing with my other character before I figured out Pestilent Mercury is the way to go. Get in there. So yeah, we have two distractors, basically, one with a very high-powered weapon and also our Pestilent Mercury with a better catalyst. So this fight goes much smoother. We don't run out of Estus in this fight. Like, that's how smooth it goes. It's a very nice fight. Guns N' Roses, the real MVP, along with Pestilent Mercury. But again, back to that Moonlight Greatsword thing. We get our buddy Midir's soul here, and it transposes into something quite similar, which we get a lore point from his soul that explains that, which I found very interesting. And I don't know how I lived through that charge. Oh, spoke too soon, got hit with the tail swipe. The tail swipe is probably your greatest... Any of his swipes, really. Like the fire, the dark magic, those are all pretty easy to dodge. And for the most part, live through as long as you're wearing decent defense. But decent armor for defense, rather. But yeah, see, I was able to get away from it. But those swipes are nasty, and they drain a ton of your health. So... if nothing from these three fights, you'll get to see Midir's moveset, kind of see how erratically he behaves. When to cast Pestilent Mercury. We're already in phase 2, and we've only used 2 Estus Flasks. We're doing just fine. I think I'm about to crack open an Ashen Estus Flask here and refill my FP meter. We get to see that nasty AoE from far away. Beautiful in its terrifying nature, frankly. More of those purple sparkles coming off of him, the dark crystals. And already he's at like a quarter health. Oh, and he moved away from my cloud, how dare. But that's okay. Pestilent Mercury does not cost a lot to cast if you're noticing the FP meter up top. It only takes a little chunk. Ooh, nice dodge, Joy. And I spoke too soon. But we get in here. Yeah, eat some Mercury Cloud, biatch. Oh, I thought that was really interesting too. That sort of dark affected humanity dregs, the dregs of souls of humanity, or of just man and undead. That they look so much like humanity, look so much like the Dark Soul. Well, humanity and the Dark Soul are a bit different. Humanity is derived from the Dark Soul, but just that the Deep Soul dregs looks so much like it, and Midir has finally been put to rest. We get the Heir of Fire, it's destroyed, which is a very interesting thing. We also get a Spear of Filianor Covenant item, as well as Midir's soul, and a Sunlight medal, because we are part of the Sunlight Covenant. Praise the sun, my bro, Guns N' Roses. We only used, I think, 4 Estus Flasks and 1 Ashen Estus Flask. Pretty fantastic. Again, these limbs of people charred and burnt down here in this chasm. Good lord. But we picked up 2 very cool key items. Yeah, I'm just showing, like, oh man, we did so good. We barely used any Estus. But we get, come on, Joy, what are you going to show first? Being real erratic here, babe. We get the Spears of the Church, a green rusted ornament of young grass, the crest of Princess Filianor, equipped to join the Spears of the Church covenant. The Spears of the Church watch over the princess's slumber, and when the church is compromised by a trespasser, the Judicator summons them as loyal spirits to eliminate the threat, summoned automatically while this is equipped. Loyal spirits summoned as Spears of the Church are granted a blessing of protection. We're going to learn more about how this works later, but in terms of a lore standpoint, when the Judicator summons those orange phantoms, that's who he's summoning. He's summoning Spears of the Church who have sworn their allegiance to Princess Filianor. So that's pretty interesting. We also picked up Midir's sick, nasty, dark soul. which you'll see here in a second is quite nasty looking. Soul of Darkeater Midir, one of the twisted souls steeped in strength, used to acquire many souls or to transpose to extract its true strength. Midir, descendant of Archdragons, was raised by the gods and owing to his immortality was given a duty to eternally battle the dark, a duty that he would never forget even after the gods perished. So he's related to the OG dragons, a descendant of the Archdragons, though he's not quite an archdragon, just a descendant of them and raised by the gods. So he serves the gods, which is very unusual because the gods and the dragons were basically sworn enemies because Gwyn defeated the archdragons in order to usher in the Age of Fire, and he only did so with the knowledge, again, that Seath the Scaleless gave to him. I just wanted to show you guys the Cathedral of the Deep and Rosari's fingers here. Here I am swapping out my rings because we no longer need Pestilent Mercury, so I'm putting back my attributes. I'm being reborn twice in one playthrough. Ooh. But this is Rosaria, Mother of Rebirth. I'm going to offer her my last Pale Tongue in order to put my attributes back. Just wanted to show you guys what this looks like. It gives you a little countdown, so now it says you can only be reborn 4 more times. And I actually took a photo of the screen before I started reallocating, so I put it back exactly as I have it here. And I will cut that out. But, yeah, so here I am back with my attributes as they were pre-Midir fight. Again, Silver Cat Ring. I found that I mentioned that I have the Silver Cat Ring on so much, and I'm so sorry that I keep mentioning it, but also fall damage is a fucking thing in this game. And it is a sincerely messed up thing in this game, so Silver Cat Ring for the win, the true MVP of Dark Souls 3. But
my most humble thanks. 'Tis thanks to thee the dragon erred not from his vows. Please, take this. A final gift of thanks.
Titanite Slab.
Now, hasten on thy journey, but wake not the slumbering princess, as the fire waneth does she lie by the dark, all for the sake of man. My humblest now.
Okay, so we got the info that we needed. Pretty sure I die right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Herald Knights tag team me. And once more revealing, yep, rip. But Shira's like, thank you for putting Midir to rest before he could fully be transformed into, you know, a dark-addled creature who forgot his vows. And as a symbol of my thanks here, take this sick, nasty Titanite Slab with which to upgrade your weapon of choice to +10. So pretty cool. You get a ton of upgrade materials in this DLC, which to me says, hey, you should be upgrading your weapons. You should actually be upgrading your weapons all the fucking way if you have not done so already. So pretty interesting. And right here, I'm just running back to get my damn souls. That's all that's happening here. So now that we've put Midir to rest, and for the record, Midir is a 100% optional boss. You do not have to fight him to get to the end of the DLC. That's why he's so difficult and kind of hard to find unless you're backtracking and talking to Shira. Get our souls.
My humblest now.
Just making sure she has nothing new to say. And let's warp on back to the bonfire. And then I want to allocate that Estus, which is why I'm back here in the shrine. I also want to show you guys what we can transpose Midir's soul into, which is why I'm back here. I mentioned earlier that if you cut off Seath the Scaleless' tail, you get the Moonlight Greatsword in Dark Souls 1. We can also find out, actually, what the soul of the Demon Prince transposes to as well, so I do that here as well as I show you what that transposes into. And it's that big flame thing. Yes, the Demon Scar. This chaotic thing, the last flame kindled by the Demon Prince, is shaped like the claw marks of a demon. It is both a fiery bladed weapon and pyromancy flame, and the skill is spin to stoke a fierce chaos flame and use the momentum to transition into a spin, blah 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 blah. Apparently not important. But that was from the soul of the Demon Prince that we got earlier. And there's one more thing that we can get from it. It's a pyromancy. It's like Chaos Orb, something like that. Yeah, there it is. What is it? It is Seething Chaos, and it is the last flame lit by the Demon Prince. This pyromancy hurls a clump of chaos. Upon impact, this clump of chaos seizes wildly, condenses briefly, then explodes violently. To the demons, these clumps are shreds of life. So the fire kept demons alive, but more importantly, we get Old Moonlight, a memory of an old sword found deep within Midir. The sorcerer uses souls to grant form to thought and an attack with it. Attacks are coupled with light waves, and sustaining the stance before attacking increases their speed and potency. The sword is named after Moonlight, but it is slightly different than the one fashioned of the Pale Drake Seath. Perhaps it is rooted in an older memory from not long after the beginning. So again, tying us back to Dark Souls 1 with Seath the Scaleless and his Moonlight Blade tale, and also the Archdragons, and sort of the beginning, the very beginning, seeing as he was a descendant of the Archdragons. So before the Age of Fire, even, perhaps. But anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. And the next one is the final episode of the Ring City DLC. And I will see you guys then when we take on the final battle of Dark Souls 3. Later, y'all.